In this video, I want to talk about why I write. I touched a little bit upon that in the previous video where I talked about author identity, but here I wanted to focus more on what writing is for me or what it does for me. And I've been writing my entire life. It's something that I've had as a go-to in terms of self-expression since I was a child. A lot of times I didn't even know how I was feeling or what I thought about something unless I was able to put it down in pen and paper. And so I didn't necessarily, as when I was younger, understand the concept of journaling. But that was something that I did perhaps informally since then. Even if I needed to express to somebody how I felt, it was easier for me to always write a letter than it was to actually tell them. And that's because sometimes I didn't know how to make sense of what was going on with me until I was able to write it down. And that hasn't changed as an adult. That's still a big portion of how I um, interpret what's going on, make sense of what's going on, and try to in fact get in touch with my feelings. It is through writing. Excuse me. On a professional level, writing is very cathartic. Even when I write novels, which are fictional stories, I heal a lot through them because I go on the journey with my characters as if it were my own personal journey, and I find a lot of significance, value through that process, and thus, as I said, also healing. And most definitely, I feel it with my poetry because my poetry for me is a form of self expression. And I've realized that it also gives me a way to connect within, to connect with what's happening around me, because poems are little snapshots of moments, events, flashes of what you see. And when I start writing and transmitting that onto paper, it helps me feel more grounded and more connected to not just myself, but everything that is going on around me. And so, I really encourage people to start writing, even if you don't want to do it formally or if you don't want to do it professionally. One of the things a few years ago that I started doing as an exercise that really helped me sort of spearhead or catapult my writing journey or my writing career was going through morning pages, which I learned from Julia Cameron's book called The Artist's Way. She has several exercises that she has anybody who's following the book go through, and one of the big ones is morning pages. And what she recommends is that first thing in the morning, before you even do anything else, even go to the bathroom or brush your teeth or anything, but you just write freehand stream of consciousness, 3 pages, just to get everything that you have out. I started doing that. I found that for me, I was not able to do it first thing in the morning when I got out of bed, but I did try to do it in the morning hours. A lot of times I would wait until I had my cup of coffee or tea and then sit down and write. A lot of times, especially back then, I was traveling quite a bit, and so I had to wake up early and get on the first flight out, and it just was not feasible for me to sit there and write. So I would do it on the plane, or I would do it another time. But I made sure that I did it at least once a day, and just wrote stream of consciousness for 3 pages. It helped me really get the guck out of my head. We all have things that go through our heads and just run constantly, and it helped me just get it out so that I was not worrying as much, not stressing out as much. And I also got a lot of clarity on, sometimes I wasn't able to work out what I wanted to do in certain situations, and that just helped. Eventually the answers would come. It's not that I was thinking about them or saying, oh, I'm going to write the answer to this today, but just in that exercise of getting my consciousness, my thoughts out, I managed to get to that clarity. And the key with that is also to not stop, meaning you start writing and you just keep on writing until you fill the 3 pages. And you do this not stop so that you don't judge what you're writing. You're not necessarily writing for somebody else to read, or you're not writing because you aren't going to post it somewhere. You're just writing this for yourself. Um, Julia Cameron had said, don't look back on your notes for a certain period of time. And then after, and I forget what that period of time is now, because I did that probably around 7 years ago now, 7 years ago. And so I've forgotten what the period of time is, but then she said, go back and start reading. And sometimes when you go back and read, you realize it's a lot of nonsense. And it's easy to sort of judge yourself, but the truth is it's just an exercise for you to get a lot of the things that are going on with you on paper and just sort of release them. And so at the moment, I no longer go back and read what I write. I still continue the stream of consciousness writing. I don't always do it formally for 3 pages. Sometimes I don't have the time. And so sometimes I just stick to 1 page, but I discard it. I will read it in that moment. And if there's something that I find that is significant or that I want to keep for whatever reason, a lot of my poetry actually comes out during those times. So maybe I'll type up the poem, but I discard that piece of paper so that it's not something that I hold on to, because it's something that I need to go back and read or revisit. And so it's been a really, really useful exercise for me. And I do encourage people to write. I think that it is a great form of self-expression, of connecting with yourself, of understanding at a deeper level what it is that might be going on in your life. And so think about what motivates you to express yourself. And maybe it isn't writing, maybe it could be another form of creativity. But if writing does sort of pique your curiosity, I would say, start with something like stream of consciousness writing and then just see where it takes you, because it could be a completely unexpected encounter. And I say unexpected because a lot of my poetry did come out that way, in that I didn't think I was ever going to write poetry. And around the time of the COVID lockdowns, I was continuing my stream of consciousness writing, and I realized that a lot of what was coming out was lyrical, and eventually had to recognize that it was poetry. And it started as a kind of a fluke thing like that, and now I've got 3 poetry books. There's 1 novel in there, but I've got 3 poetry books. Each book has roughly 100 poems. And so that was a lot of poems that came out through these writing exercises. And I continue to write poetry even to this date. So you just never know what could come out of these writing exercises. And it could just be as simple as getting your thoughts out on paper, kind of having a way or an outlet for expression, an outlet for you to release whatever it is that you're thinking of. Or, you never know, it could lead to something else. So give it a try.